Ariana Blake returned to Willow Creek after 16 years, standing before the house she once fled. The porch groaned beneath her steps, as if recognizing the girl who never said goodbye. Cold air slipped through the doorway when she unlocked it, carrying the weight of old whispers. Every corner felt haunted by memories she tried to bury but never escaped. A car engine rumbled behind her, breaking the silence like a snapped thread. Headlights washed over her, trapping her in a pale, trembling glow. Luther Graham stepped out, his shadow stretching across the gravel toward her. His smile held no warmth, only the echo of a past she wished had died. Ariana froze, sensing the storm she thought she had outrun returning for her. And in that moment, she knew the house was not the only thing waiting in the dark. Ariana filed the final legal documents early the next morning, her signature steady but her breath tight. The courthouse hallway felt too bright, too clean, compared to the storm she carried inside. She walked out with the official order in hand, confirming the house was legally hers again. 7 days. That was all Luther Graham, and his wife Sabrina had left before they had to move out. Ariana delivered the notice herself, sliding it into the mailbox while her pulse hammered. Curtains shifted inside the house, as if someone watched her through a narrow slit of light. She didn't wait to see who it was. She turned away, determined not to give them the satisfaction of hesitation. By afternoon, the retaliation began with the same cruelty she remembered from childhood. The side gate was ripped from its hinge, lying in the dirt like a broken limb. Someone scratched obscenities into the paint of her car, each word sharp and deliberate. Ariana photographed everything, her phone shaking but her resolve anchored. She sent the photos to Mark Jensen, her attorney, who replied within minutes. "Keep documenting. Don't engage. We build the case brick by brick." That was the plan. Still, fear crawled under her skin with every new sound the old house made. Floorboards popped. Pipes moaned. Wind scraped branches along the siding like fingernails. She told herself it was only the house aging, not the monsters of her past returning. But as she walked through each room, memories replayed with painful clarity. The kitchen tiles, where she once cleaned up shattered glass. The upstairs hallway, where she learned to be silent to survive. The locked closet, where she hid until the shouting stopped. Ariana opened that closet now, her breath catching as dust drifted into the light. There was nothing inside, but she felt the echo of herself crouched in that space. She closed the door gently, as if tucking the memory away. Outside, footsteps crunched across the gravel, too heavy to be harmless. Ariana moved to the window and lifted the curtain just enough to see. Luther stood at the end of the driveway, hands in pockets, watching the house. He didn't walk closer. He didn't need to. The message was clear in the tilt of his head and the cold patience in his stance. "This is still my territory." Ariana stepped back from the window, heart pounding but spine straight. She called Harris, the elderly neighbor who had always treated her with a quiet kindness. He arrived minutes later, carrying a thermos and wearing a grim expression. He surveyed the damaged gate and the scratches on her car with a slow nod. "It's starting," he muttered, voice low. Ariana didn't flinch. "It ends here," she answered, surprising herself with the steadiness of her tone. That night, she sat at the kitchen table sorting documents, photos, and legal forms. Thunder rolled outside, shaking the windows like an old warning. But Ariana didn't run. Not this time. She organized every shred of evidence and placed it into labeled folders. This was her house now, and she was reclaiming it piece by piece. Even if reclaiming it meant digging up the ghosts buried beneath every floorboard. Ariana woke early to the sound of rain tapping the window, soft but insistent like a reminder. She stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the hollow silence of the house. The place felt wounded, but not defeated, and she sensed a possibility beneath the decay. An idea formed slowly, rising from the ache of old memories like a fragile spark. This house didn't have to stay a monument to fear. It could become something alive, something healing. She opened her notebook and wrote the first words without hesitation. Willow Creek Art Home. A gallery. A studio. A safe space for young artists who needed somewhere to breathe. The thought steadied her, grounding her more than any legal document ever had. She contacted a building inspector, her voice firmer than she expected. By noon, 2 professionals walked through the house with flashlights and clipboards. They checked beams, wiring, pipes, and the old foundation that had survived storms and silence. Their verdict wasn't perfect, but it was hopeful. The house could be restored. It only needed work, patience, and enough courage to see it through. Ariana felt a new energy rising in her, something fierce and unfamiliar. She created a post online, seeking artists, volunteers, and collaborators. Within hours, messages poured in from students, painters, sculptors, and teachers. Some were from Willow Creek, some from towns miles away. All wanted to be part of a project built on transformation. But the moment the buzz began, so did the resistance. When Ariana returned from buying supplies, she found the front porch littered with shredded sketches. Her blueprint for the gallery lay torn in half, soaked in mud and rainwater. Ariana knelt, gathered every piece, and pressed them flat against her chest. She did not cry. She only breathed deeply, letting the anger burn clean instead of consuming her. That night at the hotel, someone left a dead raccoon on her doorstep. Its body was arranged deliberately, as if staged for her alone. Ariana reported it immediately, and the officer's face tightened with recognition. This was Luther's signature. A silent message, cruel and mocking. But Ariana refused to retreat. She returned to the house at dawn, coffee in hand and determination sharp as steel. Harris was already there, waiting with tools and a warm, tired smile. "We fixed the gate first," he said, handing her a pair of gloves. Together they worked in steady rhythm, rebuilding what had been broken. Their small progress felt like defiance, like reclaiming stolen ground inch by inch. Throughout the day, neighbors drifted in quietly with offers of help. Some brought paint samples. Others donated old art supplies or leftover lumber. Their presence filled the house with a hum of life it hadn't felt in years. Still, the shadows lingered at the edges. A car idled too long across the street. A man watched her from behind tinted windows before driving away. Ariana recognized the silhouette instantly. Luther wasn't finished. But neither was she. As evening settled, Ariana stood in the center of the house with a steady heart. This place would not remain a graveyard of past pain. It would become a sanctuary, forged from everything she survived. And no threat, no shadow, no ghost of Luther Graham would stop her now. Luther Graham sat in his cell, hands folded on the steel table, eyes dark and calculating. The guards thought he was silent, resigned. They did not see the network he had set in motion. Letters slipped through cracks. Calls made in coded words. Ariana's gallery became the target again, though he could not touch it directly. The first attack came at midnight. The electricity went out. Lights, heaters, even security alarms failed simultaneously. Ariana woke to darkness, heart racing. She grabbed her phone, only to find no signal. Her breath caught as she heard the window shake in the wind. By morning, damage was clear. A wall panel had been pried open. Some wires were cut. Her newly installed security cameras were smashed. Mark Jensen arrived immediately. He scanned the chaos with tight lips. "This is organized," he said. "They're not acting alone." Ariana nodded, fear and resolve entwined. Then came the threats. Letters slipped under the gallery door, handwriting jagged and purposeful. They claimed they knew where she slept, where she went. Ariana saved each letter, photographing them for evidence. Harris stayed by her side, watching the driveway and surrounding streets. Even with all precautions, the house shook with each new act of sabotage. The gallery windows were shattered one night, glass scattering across floors and counters. It was deliberate, symbolic, meant to frighten rather than destroy fully. Ariana's pulse hitched, but she didn't retreat. She contacted the police again. Officers arrived and scoured the property, finding traces of tampering and footprints leading away. Further investigation revealed Derek Graham, Luther's brother, had been coordinating the attacks. He was trying to finish what Luther had started from within. Ariana documented everything meticulously, cataloging every broken pane, every threatening note, every sabotaged wire. The community began to notice her persistence. Neighbors started leaving supplies at her doorstep. Teenagers helped board broken windows. Some came quietly at night to paint over graffiti. Each act of sabotage only strengthened her support. She realized that fear was losing power, replaced by collective courage. Despite the chaos, Ariana pressed on with gallery repairs. Mark advised extra precautions, but Ariana refused to let the darkness dictate her schedule. She met with electricians, carpenters, and builders daily. Every repaired wall, every fixed wire, every clean pane of glass was a small victory. Even when another letter arrived threatening her directly, she read it, photographed it, and set it aside. She refused to show trembling hands. Each attack drew more community volunteers. Some brought art supplies. Some offered professional labor. Even local reporters began covering her determination, framing her story not as victimhood, but resilience. By the end of the month, the gallery still bore scars of the attacks, but it also bore the imprint of resistance. Ariana walked through each room slowly, touching beams, adjusting furniture, checking the artworks. She realized the attacks were not weakening her. They were revealing the strength of the people around her. The house, once a symbol of fear, was transforming. Every broken window, every tampered wire, every threat became evidence of courage in the making. And as she locked the door each night, Ariana knew the battle was far from over. But for the first time in years, she felt unshakable. She was no longer alone, and the house was no longer her prison. The gallery slowly began to take shape, each repaired wall and polished floor a small triumph. Ariana arranged the first studio space, placing tables and easels with careful precision. Local teens trickled in for the weekend workshop, hesitant at first, shy and uncertain. By the second week, more arrived, curious, carrying sketchbooks and paint-stained fingers. Ariana welcomed them all, explaining the vision, a safe space to create, share, and heal. Artists from neighboring towns contacted her, offering to host residencies and exhibitions. The gallery walls slowly filled with color, sketches, and sculptures, each piece telling its own story. News crews arrived from St. Louis and Chicago, cameras capturing teenagers painting murals on the walls. A feature story emerged about Willow Creek, finally facing its history of silence. Some townspeople cheered Ariana's courage, bringing food, supplies, and encouragement. Others grumbled, fearing change, fearing the truth she was exposing about the past. Ariana ignored whispers of resentment, focusing on the energy growing within the gallery. Workshops expanded to include writing classes, theater sessions, and music lessons for children. Students displayed pieces inspired by personal struggles and triumphs, each work moving and raw. Parents began to join in, helping with cleanup, mentoring younger participants, and donating materials. The gallery became a hub of activity, laughter echoing through the hallways for the first time in decades. One evening, a local journalist revealed an archived report about unreported domestic violence in the town. The article highlighted how long silence had protected abusers and hurt victims. Townspeople debated heatedly, some defending old habits, others supporting Ariana's mission. The gallery stood as a living proof of courage, creativity, and the power of community action. Ariana noticed families arriving together, bringing children who had once been afraid to express themselves. Workshops became interactive, with teenagers mentoring younger students on painting and sculpture. Art supplies were donated by local businesses, transforming empty rooms into vibrant creative spaces. The gallery's influence began to extend beyond Willow Creek, drawing interest from nearby cities. Ariana held community meetings to discuss ideas for expansion and inclusive programs. Her leadership inspired residents to speak openly, breaking years of silence and stigma. Some former skeptics became volunteers, helping with logistics and organization. Stories of abuse and survival were shared carefully, giving voice to those who had long felt powerless. Ariana worked tirelessly, balancing administrative tasks with personal mentoring for young artists. She became a symbol of resilience, showing how art could confront pain and rebuild community trust. Even as threats from Luther and Derek lingered, the gallery's presence felt stronger than fear. Local children painted a mural representing growth, hope, and the end of hidden suffering. Teenagers wrote poems reflecting personal courage, displayed alongside paintings and sculptures. Ariana organized an evening showcase, inviting journalists, community leaders, and families. The gallery buzzed with energy, laughter, and conversations about change and healing. It became clear that Willow Creek was shifting, slowly embracing accountability and compassion. The gallery was no longer just a building. It was a beacon of resilience, a platform for voices previously silenced. Ariana looked around the bustling space, a deep satisfaction warming her chest. The house had transformed. The community was transforming. And the story of Willow Creek had finally begun to be rewritten. Luther Graham was released early, walking out of the prison gates with cautious steps. He did not return to Willow Creek with threats or anger. Instead, he stayed behind the mandated 500-foot boundary, watching from a distance. Ariana spotted him across the street while checking on the gallery renovations. He held a small bouquet of wildflowers, their colors muted but deliberate. Luther did not approach closer, respecting the legal and emotional boundaries. He sent a handwritten letter to Ariana, apologizing for the past and admitting his wrongs. The words were carefully chosen, sincere yet distant. He made no request for forgiveness. He did not ask to be part of her life again. He only wanted to acknowledge his actions and the harm he caused. Mark Jensen read the letter first, nodding slowly as he handed it to Ariana. Harris watched from the doorway, silent but supportive. Ariana read it once, twice, feeling the weight of years condensed into ink and paper. She felt a strange mixture of relief and wariness. The man who haunted her past was now a stranger trying to reconcile with himself. She took a deep breath, allowing herself to accept the gesture without inviting him in. The gallery work continued, each mural and sculpture a testament to resilience. Teenagers painted boldly, their laughter ringing across the high ceilings. Ariana focused on their energy, on the life she had built here, rather than the shadow outside. Local families began visiting more frequently, drawn by the stories of healing and art. Some whispered about Luther's presence, but no one acted with hostility. It was as if his distance made it safe to witness change without chaos. Ariana walked the gallery halls at dusk, reflecting on how far both she and the town had come. Each room held a memory transformed, fear into creativity, silence into voice. Luther remained on the street, a quiet observer, respecting the boundaries and the progress made. He occasionally waved from afar, and Ariana nodded back, a simple acknowledgement. The community began to accept his existence as separate from the harm he caused. Some families discussed his rehabilitation, the possibility of change, and the limits of forgiveness. Ariana did not engage him directly, choosing instead to focus on the gallery's mission. She realized that recognition of wrongdoing could exist without reconciliation. It was enough for him to own his past, for the town to see accountability, and for her to stay free. The wildflowers he left outside the gallery doors became part of a display for local students. They painted around them, integrating the gesture into art about growth and healing. Ariana allowed herself a quiet moment, imagining the cycles of fear breaking with each brushstroke. She knew she could never erase the past, but she could control the present and shape the future. Luther's presence became a symbol of responsibility rather than threat. Ariana reinforced programs, welcomed volunteers, and expanded workshops. Children wrote letters and drew pictures reflecting courage, some inspired by the story of accountability. The gallery thrived as a hub of learning, expression, and community healing. Ariana understood that closure did not require reconciliation. It required strength, boundaries, and acknowledgement of truth. She walked past the wildflowers one last time before closing the gallery for the evening. The sun dipped behind Willow Creek, casting long shadows across the street. Ariana felt a calm she had not known for years. The past remained, but it no longer ruled her. She had reclaimed her space, her voice, and her life. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine the future fully unshackled. The day of the gallery opening arrived with crisp sunlight and quiet anticipation. Ariana unlocked the doors early, her hands steady, heart full of cautious hope. Volunteers moved tables and easels into place, arranging final touches on displays. Children's paintings lined the walls, vibrant and honest, telling stories of struggle and growth. Teenagers set up sculptures in the center hall, each piece a bold statement of resilience. Local artists placed their works thoughtfully, reflecting themes of healing and community. Families arrived slowly at first, peeking through windows, curious and cautious. By midday, the gallery buzzed with energy, laughter, and conversation. Journalists snapped photos, recording moments of discovery and creativity for their stories. Ariana greeted each guest with calm warmth, explaining the gallery's purpose and vision. The young artists proudly showcased their work, explaining meanings and inspirations. Ariana noticed some parents wiping tears quietly, moved by the children's courage. Even former skeptics wandered through the space, pausing to admire the murals. The gallery's influence spread, reaching hearts that had resisted change for years. Each visitor seemed to absorb a part of the story, woven into the walls. Ariana walked to the center of the main hall, observing the flow of movement and energy. She felt the weight of history lifting, replaced by collective hope and action. Luther Graham appeared briefly outside, standing at a respectful distance. He watched silently as the gallery thrived, his posture subdued and non-threatening. No one approached him, and he did not enter, respecting the space he had once haunted. The presence of the gallery became a living testament to transformation, not revenge. Children gathered for a painting demonstration, their faces bright with excitement. Teenagers guided younger students, teaching techniques and offering encouragement. Stories were shared aloud, some reading from journals, others describing their art. The energy in the room created a ripple of connection and understanding. Parents began to discuss how the gallery could continue supporting their children. Local officials and community leaders took notes, expressing interest in long-term programs. Ariana introduced a memorial wall honoring those affected by past violence in Willow Creek. Guests contributed names, drawings, and small tokens, leaving traces of memory and acknowledgement. Photographers captured the interactions, emphasizing hope and resilience in their shots. Evening approached, and the gallery glowed warmly from within, lights reflecting off polished floors. Ariana paused near a window, watching families leave with smiles and conversations buzzing. She turned to see students carefully arranging their work, proud of what they created. The gallery had become more than a building. It was a living story of courage and renewal. Ariana placed her mother's old sketches on a central display, honoring the generations before her. Children crowded around, curious, asking questions, eager to learn and create. The gallery's message resonated. Art could transform pain into empowerment and connection. As the sun set, Ariana walked to the front steps and locked the doors gently behind her. She looked back, seeing every corner filled with life, color, and community spirit. Luther Graham appeared one last time outside, nodded silently, and walked away. Ariana watched him leave, feeling closure in knowing change was visible, not just in words. Willow Creek had begun to heal, its past acknowledged, its future brightened by creativity. Ariana took a deep breath, confident that the gallery would continue to inspire growth and courage. She turned to head home, the sound of laughter and art echoing behind her. The house had transformed completely. From a place of fear, it had become a sanctuary for healing, expression, and hope. Ariana stood on the front steps, the gallery glowing behind her in the evening light. She held the old key in her hand, turning it slowly in the lock one last time. The door clicked, but it was more than a lock. It was a symbol of her strength. The house that once trapped her now stood as a testament to resilience and courage. She realized the past was still present, but it no longer controlled her choices. Memories of fear and silence lingered, but they were shadows she could face without running. Ariana looked at the street, empty now, and felt the weight of every small victory. The wildflowers from Luther were gone, replaced by art and life that filled the space. She walked slowly through the gallery, touching walls, pausing at each mural and sculpture. Every brushstroke, every sculpture, every drawing told a story of survival and hope. Generations of pain had been acknowledged, transformed, and healed in this space. She knew she had broken the cycle of silence for herself and for others. Turning back to the front door, Ariana smiled softly, feeling a quiet triumph within. The key rested in her palm, a reminder that doors only open when you are ready. The gallery was alive, the town was changing, and she was finally free. Ariana stepped away from the house, leaving it open to the world and to the future. The past had shaped her, but she was the author of the life she now walked into. The sun set fully behind Willow Creek, painting the sky with colors of endings and beginnings. She felt the calm certainty of someone who survived and reclaimed everything. And in that moment, Ariana Blake knew she had truly come home.